Kafka dot bin Windows zookeeper config zookeeper properties. Again, go to this location, command dot bin Windows Kafka server dot config server dot properties. It is started. Okay, so here you can see, look at the port number. Of course, this IP is not configured, and port number 9092. This is a command you can just see here. Okay, this is a command to start the zookeeper and server. Now you have to write the coding part. Okay, I'm just taking a very simple requirement here, but mainly Kafka related code I'm showing. And of course, one small Spring Boot use case also I'm just taking. Okay, this is Kafka ecosystem. We have to write a producer and a consumer. It's a producer service. Okay, by using Kafka template, which takes a key comma value, we can transfer the data here. Okay, here we are mentioning Kafka listener and the topic name to send the data. This is consumer service. And of course, we have to write some connectivity details, which creates a connection with the Kafka software. Which will transfer the data. And where consumer will read the data. Okay, when the producer will transfer the data, at the same time with the same topic name, it is going to receive the data here. It will serialize, it will deserialize. Okay, here you can create some topics section. One topic will be created here on the fly. Okay, and a message replica will use a broker. And that is actually going to transfer the data here. This is ecosystem. This is sufficient, but what I'm just trying to do, I'm just creating a REST controller with a name Kafka REST controller. Or a simple REST controller I'm just writing here. So what this REST controller will do, it is actually going to give the data with third-party sources here. Okay, that is actually going to convert that object. Okay, this object again we are converting using a utility, manual conversion if you want to do. JSON util in the global format I want to send. REST by default supports JSON to object here, but here we are getting primitive. Assumption something like a send question mark code is equals to and some cost is equals to. Like this we are getting some data. Converted to object and converted to JSON and given to producer. Such JSON data is actually received by consumer even. Once it receives, okay, it is actually going to use one message service or message store. Okay, So this message store, with the help of two things, one is actually entity and a repository, it is communicating with the database. Okay, on successful sending, it is giving a response back here like success. Whenever a message is sent, receives a REST controller and converted to object, JSON util taken, producer called, okay, serialized, given to a topic section and store. Okay, message broker will read, deserialize and given to consumer. Okay, message store is called, okay, with the help of repository and entity storing in the database. Okay, now here, this time we want to see the data, view the data, just view. So it is actually going to return the data in the form of JSON format here. Okay, when you just execute the view request, so here it's actually making view request. Request goes to store, uses the repository and goes to database and get the data and convert it to JSON and return. These are the steps actually here. So project coding steps, if you just look at and workflow, completely done by programmer only. Okay, especially these two, producer and consumer works should be done by programmer. Okay, this is a simple example I'm just giving. Integration example. Okay, you can just see here, this is a Kafka flow. Okay, so here if you just look at, when data is given to REST controller that is creating one object and converted to JSON format before sending to Kafka template. Kafka template takes key and value to send data to Kafka ecosystem. Consumer is called by Kafka server default when message is received. Okay. So when the data is received, actually, Kafka server is called by default. Then it converts data back to object and stores a database using repository help. Okay, that's actually taking the help of database and storing in the repository here. If request comes to read all data, then return list of type as JSON format. Okay, so the major code here is actually integration code is this part here, working with a producer and consumer, but writing only this has no meaning. So I'm just writing a full application here. Okay, in the real time, even multiple components involved. Okay, this is like application I'm writing here. So I'm just stopping this, press Control C, stop properly. Otherwise you cannot start it again. shut down completed message C, again plus control C, exit, plus control C, exit. Okay, so I'm writing one application here. You can write producer consumer separately, or else you can write in both in a single application. Okay, I will show the same application. You just separate it, not an issue. File new. Just I'm writing here Spring Boot Kafka EX. Okay, web dependency, Lombok dependency, DevTools dependency, data JPA, MySQL, Apache Kafka, and what else? If you want anything, we'll add it. It's a Spring for Apache Kafka, data JPA, MySQL, and Lombok, web and DevTools. Taking all the types of dependencies here and writing the application. Okay, here we need to write some properties actually. Of course, you can write YAML file also. Okay, that's not an issue. Okay, so here, first I'm going to mention producer details here. Anything is fine. So here, my dot Kafka dot topic name sample TPC. It's a topic. Producer. So location we have to connect Bootstrap server. Don't mention any protocol. Okay, you should not mention any protocol. Okay, port number 9092. Okay, Kafka producer Bootstrap server means the location where exactly Kafka is running. Okay, so then we have to mention key serializer. Value serializer here. There are predefined serializers. You need not to do anything manually. It's a org Apache Kafka. It's not Spring Boot. Please observe very carefully package name. Kafka has provided inbuilt serializers. Okay, like this we are mentioning here. Spring dot Kafka dot consumer dot. It's a Bootstrap server, same connectivity. Actually, above keys you have tried as a one application, and below keys you have tried as another application. That's your work. Now here, key deserializer will be there, and value deserializer will be there. String deserializer. It's a deserializer. Now I have already given topic name. It is created by Bootstrap here. So here I'm just mentioning even group ID. Okay. If you want to say here, there are 4 consumers actually wants to be connected to same message broker here. 4 copies I want to tell here. Okay. So just I'm writing it's actually my group. Okay. Group ID is to avoid the replication factor here. Based on the number of consumers connected for a particular group, okay, this message broker is going to create the clone copies here. Okay, so here, so these are the keys we have to mention. Okay, So here, once it is done here, now I'm going to write here producer service and consumer service with a JSON util explicitly. Okay, assumption we'll get one input class that is actually called stock data or stock. It's a stock code or stock. It's a entity. Okay. It's a primary key, code, current value, and at what date it has come. Like this, I'm just writing, applying now. The continuously stock data is actually coming to us. It's a primary key. Okay, this is what I mentioned here. And to perform the operation, I'm just writing a repository interface. Extends JPA repository, primary key type integer. Okay, now I'm writing an additional class here, JSON util. Actually, the purpose of this utility, we have to send the global data format. Okay, so here it's object, okay, but sometimes consumer will be in a different language. Here I'm writing both producer and consumer in Java. Once you go to company, you may write producer or consumer, any one. So receiver side will be different product. So manual conversion required here. So it's a to JSON, which converts object to JSON here. Stock quote SQ. There is a class name called object mapper. Write value as string, you pass SQ, which returns the same. In case of unable to parse, return no. So there is a method even, I'm just writing it's a from JSON. Okay, it's actually going to take a string JSON here. It returns stock code. New object mapper. It's a read value, so JSON, and convert it to stock code. So it is successfully done here. Object mapper is a class given by Jackson API. Okay, this is used to convert JSON object to JSON and JSON to object. Observe very carefully why we are converting. You may get doubt. Already REST control will do default, right? I'm not speaking about this. I'm speaking about this one. Here we have object. I cannot give object as it is. I cannot give object as it is. This object converted to JSON and given. Again, we'll get some JSON from here. We cannot store as it is. That should be converted. So conversions required here. Object to JSON and JSON to object. Here by default it will convert, but it's actually consumer will be different application. Producer will be different application. So this one we are writing a JSON util. Okay, now I am going to write a producer service here. New class, it's a producer service. Okay, we are just taking Kafka template, which is actually string comma string. Okay, JSON object, string format here. So it's actually auto create, auto void we have to do here. And we'll be having some destination name. This is Kafka topic name. There I'm writing a method, public void send, which takes stock code, SQ object. Okay, with the help of JSON util, I'm just converting this data to JSON. Or we can also call it a message. Now by using template, there is a method. We have to take the topic name I'm just using the topic name and sending the data here. This will transfer the data. So here, if you look at object converted to JSON, and that's actually serialized. And converted to data packets here and sent. Auto partition and auto serialization will be applied here. You can just see here, it will transfer. This is a producer service mainly using Kafka template. Okay, now here I am even writing a consumer service where consumer will get the message string JSON format. There I'm writing component. It's a read data. Okay, so we have to say go and listen to this data. We have to write one annotation. It's actually Kafka listener, where we are mentioning okay, like this I'm mentioning here topics here, which will read the data in the form of string message, convert back to JSON format. Auto. So here this util will read the data from JSON, which returns stop code, and of course this data received from message broker. And once it is received, we have to store the data in the database. For that, I'm writing a message store. There I'm writing store dot add port. It says it is not there. We have to create this class. and use a method add. Take the help of repository. And if you want to view all the records, actually, so we are fetching the data. Message store is something like a service class. Okay, if we give the code, it is actually adding. If you want to view the codes, it's actually fetching. Okay, that's actually is to communicate the database here with the help of repository and entity. Observe one more time here. Producer uses Kafka template, key and value. So the value string object is converted to JSON and that is actually sent. Of course, you can take it as a byte array format even. Okay, where consumer is actually using Kafka listener with a given topic name. Okay, so that message is converted from JSON to object and using the help of message store here. Okay, now finally we are about to write REST controller. Okay, just I'm writing. You can write any name, that's not an issue. I just wrote Kafka REST control, it's not a predefined. Now I'm just taking the help of producer service. To send the data, consumer automatically called message store to read the data. Consumer we should not call, consumer will be called. Consumer is actually called by message broker. Whenever you call producer here, send the data. Consider we'll get some primitives data here at the rate get mapping slash add, and we get two primitive parameters, request param where we are mentioning string, it's a code, request param where we are measuring double cost. Okay, by getting these two, we are creating a stop code. Set code, set cost, set date, the current date at what time it has come here. Now we are actually calling the producer to send the code. Response entity dot static method is the factor method. Stock is created using MQs Kafka. Okay, observe. We are sending some primitive data here. It is converted to object and given to JSON util in the producer, converting into JSON. Kafka template is serializing and sending to ecosystem, storing in the topic section. That's fine. From there, message broker call customer service, calling message store with the help of repository storing in the database. Okay, so this is done in case of this operation here. Now I just want to view all the records here. It's a list of the get mapping slash all. So there we have take the help of store method called get all, which returns actually list. It's a list. Taking the help of response entity and pass the list, and you can see the data. But additionally, what we can do, we have to communicate with the database. I'm just using the database here. Driver class name, URL, localhost colons, username, MySQL 8 dialect, SQL is equals to true. What is DDL auto create? So these are the keys we mentioned here. Where look at the flow. If you add the data with these two values, object created and calling send method in producer. Send method taking the object, taking the help of JSON util and calling to JSON. That is actually called object mapper and JSON converted, returning back. This is template.send. This send method taking the topic name, whatever the topic name that you gave here, same topic is created here, and that is actually receiving the data. Okay, auto serialize and auto partitions are done here, where message broker is actually reading the data and automatically calls consumer. But the thing is, consumer should be connected with the same topic name. Okay, consumer is never called. Consumer will never make a request. Consumer is called by Kafka. Read the message, converting into JSON to object with the help of JSON util and calling the store add, where store add is taking the help of repository and storing in the database. This is what actually happened when you try to insert the record. Okay, before running this, please make sure first to create this database. First MySQL command. Drop database if exist. Create the database. Use this one. These are the MySQL commands you can execute. Okay, now execution order. If you look at the execution order, first start zookeeper. I gave a command here. Okay, go to Kafka location, open the command prompt, dot slash indicates current location. In this location only, dot slash means bin, Windows, zookeeper, space, dot config, zookeeper properties. The space is given here. Press enter. Zookeeper started. Again, now start second one, Kafka server. Under the binary folder, Windows folder, Kafka server dot bin, dot config server dot properties. Press enter. If it is not started, very simple, go to this location, delete the temp folder and create again. If we are a user account, we cannot do that. Admin account required to write the data. If you're trying in office laptops, it won't work. Office laptops are user accounts, not admin accounts. You need permissions, admin permissions. Okay, I think company will not give that. Okay, so second command is to start Kafka server. Third, run main class, Spring Boot application. Go to Postman, make request to insert data. It looks like a simple insert, but data goes through Kafka. Nine six nine six. It's a stock, add code and cost. Code is equals to NIT and cost is equals to 300.0. Send. Here in connection. At the rate component. Send. Yeah. Confirmation, you can just come and see the group name. You will see here. My group is created. This cross checking here. Okay, it's actually connected. Same thing what we wrote in the code just for confirmation. Is that received data or not through Kafka? Group name, yeah. And you can cross check in the database also. Whether data inserted to application or not here. Empty. Table created. Wait 1 second. Consumer group ID. What is a group ID? Perfect. I forgot to add the group ID at consumer. We are mentioning this related to a particular group. There should be at least one group created with any name. That's okay. Look at what is happening. First, you are sending primitive data that is converted to object, that is converted to JSON. Kafka template is taking serializing and partitionizing and storing it topics. Message broker allocated by default for consumer with the group ID and topic name taken. Broker is deserializing and transferring the data with the help of Kafka listener. Now this is taking the help of store and taking the repository help and storing in the database here. Okay, now here you can say, so get request only. NIT, it's a 400 stock value. Of course, you can take it browser and insert also. 450. It is inserted. We can view all the records. Like this, it is going to come. There it will be adding continuously and it will be reading continuously here. Okay. So where producer will be sending continuously and consumer will be reading continuously. This is a flow. I'm just giving the coding part here. Spring Boot, Kafka EX, dependency, Spring for Apache Kafka, Spring Web, Lambda, Data JPA, MySQL, DevTools. One entity. Second repository. Third, services. With so producer. JSON util. Store. REST controller. So I'll share even complete code as it is. You can just practice the same. Stop it properly. Press Ctrl C. Otherwise, you cannot run one more time. Look at the order. So here, major code is writing Kafka template and Kafka listener only. Spring Boot completely auto-configured. By using Kafka template, so we have to get the global data format JSON in the form of key and value. If you send here, it will store the data. Okay. It's a producer service. Look at the major code. Kafka template send and topic name. Of course, group ID also you mentioned there. Okay. In case of consumer service, we are mentioning this one with the group ID. Same group ID should be matching here. Okay, with the topic name here. This is actually fetching the data. Okay, so practice the same code here. If you are a project-based students, there we are going to have continuation to this. This is just like a Spring Boot core concepts only. So in case of you are attending 8 p.m. project, there will be giving more event to this. Okay, so thank you for session. You attend your respective batches from the next session onwards.